This is video 6 for chapter 12, the nervous system for anatomy and physiology. So now we're going to look at the glial cells that are present in the peripheral nervous system. And we only have two here. The first one is called a satellite cell. And these satellite cells surround neural cell bodies. So you can see how they're plastered on there, and they kind of look like fried eggs that are on top of and surround this neural cell body. They offer support, much like an astrocyte, and they protect against heavy metal poisoning. Now, that's not referring to any kind of music. This is heavy metals like lead and mercury. Lead and mercury are two elements that can affect the peripheral nervous system and the central nervous system, and they accumulate in your body and they cause developmental delays, and they can cause a lot of mental issues with the nervous system. So those are satellite cells. The last one we've already mentioned, this is the Schwann cell. These form myelin in the peripheral nervous system, and they only wrap around one axon. So that is different than the oligodendrocytes. So they wrap around one axon. So that is a nice segue into myelin. So when we look at axons, we can have either myelinated or unmyelinated axons. But myelin itself is a lipid. And what it does is it protects and electrically insulates axons. So what it does is it does that for part of the axon, because if you remember, we had those little spaces in between the nodes of Ranvier that are going to be exposed, and that is going to be a clue in how nerves function and transmits information a little bit later. But know that if there's myelin wrapped around part of an axon, it speeds up the message transmission. So if we have myelin present, the nerve impulse propagates. That means that it travels down its length more quickly. So we can have myelinated axons and unmyelinated. So with myelinated axons, Schwann cells or oligodendrocytes, PNS, CNS, the Schwann cells or oligodendrocytes plasma membranes, repeatedly wrap around the axons and secrete myelin. So it's almost like if you took a tortilla and you put several different layers of things and then rolled it up into a wrap, where you can see that the tortilla would be the Schwann cell or the oligodendrocyte, and the filling inside would be, like if you had cheese or guacamole, that would be the myelin that surrounds a central piece of axon. So imagine that you had a hot dog and then you put a bunch of guacamole over it and you rolled it, and you'd end up with that central axon, the hot dog. The guacamole, which surrounds the hot dog, but also sandwiches in between the layers of the tortilla, which is that cell. It's kind of a stretch, but it might give you a little bit better of a visual. The bare areas on axons, which are about every 0.3 to 1.5 nanometers or billionths of a meter, are called nodes of Ranvier. There's no myelin at these nodes. Unmyelinated axon the axon resides in an invagination of the Schwann cell or the oligodendrocyte, but no myelin is secreted. So we still have those cells, but we do not have any myelin. And there is a disease that everybody usually hears of as MS. It stands for multiple sclerosis. This is an autoimmune disease. There is no cure for this, but there are some treatments that help lessen the symptoms and extend out the lifetime. But unfortunately, this disease, it's progressive and it is fatal, but people can live with this disease for a long period of time. And there is damage to the CNS myelin. So it starts slowing down signals, and that is one of the things that people end up getting weaknesses, and it can also damage the PNS myelin too. But this is an autoimmune disease, which means your body is attacking that. Now, when we talk about nervous tissue, it can be divided into white matter and gray matter, and it is based on whether or not myelin is present. So white matter refers to myelinated axons. Because myelin is sort of a whitish color, this gives the tissue a whitish cast. Gray matter, here's where we have unmyelinated axons, cell bodies, and dendrites. Now, both the CNS and PNS have both white and gray matter. In the central nervous system, the white matter are areas that conduct impulses from gray matter. So the brain is gray, and the spinal cord has both. The outer area of the spinal cord is white, and the inner is gray. And you can spell gray, G-R-A-Y or G-R-E-Y, depends if you're using the American or British version. The peripheral nervous system, nerves are white matter. So if you actually ever get a chance to look and see what a nerve looks like in the body, it basically looks like a very pale whitish color piece of pasta. that's cooked. So it looks like a large piece of fettuccine almost in the body. And we have things called ganglia, which is a plural form of ganglion, which are small collections of gray matter. So white and gray matter is seen in both the central and peripheral nervous systems in different areas.